listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camunya here. We are back with episode 93 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host Marlon. Marlon, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good, man. It's been a lot going on for the past week as far as like everything I'm thinking about in my mind. So I'm trying not to talk for too long, but man, first of all, I'm really upset that I didn't mention this last week because I really should have. It's just at the time that that we had recorded this episode, or the episode for last week, like we really hadn't started getting into it yet as far as like putting out the content and stuff. But me and my dad are coming up with a rental car course, which is like a master class. So it's going to be called the Rebus Rental Cars Master Class, where we're going to be teaching for 4 weeks straight about how to get into the rental car industry. We've taken a lot of courses. We've done a lot of studying, had our own experiences, and we're actually going to be releasing an entire masterclass. It's going to be 4 weeks long, and it's going to be like a virtual on Zoom masterclass where we're just teaching you from A to Z how to get into the rental car industry. I should have mentioned it last week because it's actually starting tomorrow by the time this episode releases. So if y'all want to check that out, just type in Rebus Rental Cars. So Rebus is spelled REBUS. rentalcars.com/money, and that way you'll be able to get a discount for anybody that's listening in right now. But that's been something that I've really been working on for the past couple of weeks, and it's finally going to come to fruition, so I'm super excited for that. Other than that, though, there's a lot of other stuff I could really talk about. I'm trying not to go into too much, but we just took a trip over to Dallas, and I think we might get a lot into that just throughout this episode, because that was just like a very mind-altering experience because of just the people that we were able to see. We saw a few of our previous guests, like Anthony Hartzog, Xavier Miller, Annalisa. So like we were able to like just mix and mingle with them, and that just, I think, really changed both of our perspectives a lot. So I want to let you get into that a little bit too. So how you doing overall?
I'm doing good. I can't complain at all. Just out here living it up. Yeah, definitely. Y'all definitely got to check out the rental car masterclass, because I know you've been putting a lot of work in for that. So y'all definitely tap in. I'm sure the link in the bio will be, or the link will be in the description to sign up for that if y'all are interested in that. And I think what made you want to name it that, by the way?
Great question. So I would definitely throw, I'm not the best with names, for one. My girl actually had mentioned that a lot of my branding can be around like puzzles, because there's an app that I plan on bringing out later on, but it's also related to a puzzle. And with my entire brand is pretty much putting things together. So even like my logo itself, it's an M and a W, and it's being like connected together. And so my whole brand is going to be encompassed around bringing things together, bringing people together, bringing the community together. That's really going to be like the main focus of it. So now puzzles also bring things together. Now with Rebus is actually a type of puzzle. And if you've ever seen a Rebus puzzle before, what it is like a brain teaser. And so if you have prior knowledge to what something is, or what's something what's something like a previous phrase, like a phrase that you've heard before in the past. So let's say if you saw 3 secrets on top of each other. So you see a secret, that's written out line by line, and then you circle the top one. And then, so what does that mean to you? And that's kind of like a question for you. You can answer, but top secret. That's exactly it. So, but you have to at least have heard that phrase or have prior knowledge or information to know what that means just by seeing it. Because somebody who's never heard top secret before will be like, I don't know, the 3 secrets with a circle on the top one. Like, they won't know how to answer it. So what this really is trying to translate into is that people have the answers to their financial problems right in front of them. because with rental cars, you can actually start with a car that's in your driveway. But most people think that their car in their driveway is a liability. Like they view their personal vehicle as a liability, and they don't, and they are always asking, how, I need some money, I need credit, I need something, I need this, I need that, in order to get started in a business. But in reality, you don't necessarily need those things. You can use something that's right in front of you, such as your personal vehicle, and utilize that for like a month or two, get some like build some receipts by renting it out a few times, and then you can scale from there with other people, with other people's money and stuff like that. But we're going to get a lot into that in the actual class itself. But the whole purpose of me naming it Rebus is showing you that when you have the right information, you can see the obvious first choice, or the best choice to get started once you have the right information. So by us giving you the information in the master class, you'll be able to get started in the rental car industry with or without money.
That's dope. That's dope. That's super clever too, in terms of the naming of that too. Um, I really like that whole concept of putting stuff together, just especially based on the stuff you don't even know you had the answers in front of you. That's such a profound thing, because that I think that happens just every. That's like such a common occurrence everywhere in life. I'm not gonna get into like all of that, but I'm sure like there's so many situations or scenarios where you can point that kind of stuff out. So I like that. I like that for the branding.
Yes, sir.
But that's dope, man. Yeah, y'all definitely got to check out the class, the rental car class. If y'all are looking to get into the rental car game. So, but no, other than that though, that's good. I haven't been doing too much other than trying to build the business. I really been focused on a lot of stuff for scaling and growing my cleaning business, just in terms of you know making it bigger than just what it is now, right? So trying to take it to that next level, and in terms of how I can add more value to really the marketplace, because as we know, the more value you add, the more you get paid. We get paid based off of value, right? You don't get paid based off of what you're doing. You get paid for solving hard problems. The harder the problems you solve, the more you get paid, right? And so when you look at people like Uber or Airbnb or Netflix, those companies solve certain problems that haven't been solved for centuries, right? Because when we look at Uber, it's not, people think Uber was like a company that came in and disrupted the taxi industry with technology. That's not really what happened. All they did was solve a problem along the process for that customer value chain, right? Because this is something I talked about yesterday too, with the whole customer value chain. Whenever a customer is going out to seek services, there's a process they have to go through. So in the beginning, they're looking for, let's say, so if I'm a, let's say, for Uber, for example, let's say I just left a sports game, let's say I just left some sort of event, and there is a, huge, amount of people outside. It's just a bunch of people outside, and I need to get home. Well, somebody, the person that created Uber was probably in that situation, and they saw that when after they had left that event and they saw like, dang, there was so many people but there's not enough taxis, right? And so now what a lot of people think, Uber came in and added technology to disrupt that industry, but all they did was they disrupted that one portion of that customer value chain, right? They went in there and they said that instead of because they know that the customers didn't have enough supply for the demand, so they said, okay, now we're going to fix this demand or the supply shortage by adding more cars on the road. So from there, now customers have more cars on the road. Now customers can complete that process a lot more efficiently, because I'm sure before Uber, it was, I never tried to get a taxi before, but I'm sure it was probably a lot. So, and one thing I'm learning is like, when you're a business owner, your objective is really, if you want to add more value, there's three ways you do that. It's either you make the customer more efficient in three different ways, right? Either they spend less money, they use less time, or they use less effort. So trying to figure out how I can disrupt the industry in one of those ways is really what I'm just really focused on right now. And so obviously to do that, I can't be focused on a lot of these day-to-day tasks that we have going on just daily in the business, like handling customers, cleaners, all that kind of stuff. I can't focus on that. I have to be focused on those high level tasks. So in order to do that, I have to outsource a lot of those things. And so what, I just yesterday actually hired a operations manager. So I'm setting up all the stuff right now for her and hopefully get her trained up next week and she can get started next week. So it was actually that happened a lot quicker than I actually thought it would. So I'm happy about that, excited about that, because that's going to free up more of my time to be able to focus on this stuff, especially as we go on like, more trips and stuff.
For sure.
I know I lose out on a lot of money whenever I go on trips because of, not being as attentive as I possibly could be if I was, actually working. So that's going to help out a lot. So I'm excited about that. But that's really just been the biggest things that's been going on so far as for me specifically.
I love just hearing how you talk about your business because when I compare how you think to a lot of other people, you see the reason that you were able to build the success that you've been able to build within a short amount of time. Because you're always, I mean, I know we mentioned this a couple of episodes ago with the E-Myth and stuff, but you can start off as a mature business from the outset if you have the right mentality of growth. Most people start their business as just trying to do all the technical work themselves. Like you literally just mentioned, your primary focus is to add value to the customer, whether it's to save them time, money, or effort. And by saving them on those three things, well, that's you visualizing how can I scale this or how can I make this a business to where it's solving problems so large that I'm able to be compensated handsomely for it. And then, because I was thinking, beyond just solving a hard problem or beyond solving harder problems, the more people's problems you solve in general, that's going to also result in more income for you. So think about Amazon, for instance. Amazon delivers everywhere. They solve millions of people's problems by making them not have to go out and go shop for their food, shop for the different items and stuff like clothes, different whatever it may be. So you don't have to ever leave out. You don't have to leave the house in order to get whatever you need now. So that solves a lot of people's problems. So the more problems you solve, the more you're compensated for it, which is why Amazon is a $1 billion company. Likewise, for you, you're trying to solve more people's problems through saving them time, money, and effort. But you have to be thinking along those lines of a visionary type of business owner, as opposed to somebody that just says, "All I want to do is clean the houses." You can like that's the important task, but you have to be thinking, how can I do something more efficiently? Like, how can I control this space, or what can make me different in this space? And most people are just worried about, oh man, I can't think about all that today. I got to worry about getting this house cleaned up that's already been booked. You
Yeah.
keep thinking like that, but you're always going to be in that same mode. You're never going to scale beyond that. And like you said, hiring that operations manager, that's going to be game changing because like I've seen you many times. Like we just have conversations, and you may have like 5 phone calls in 10 minutes or something crazy. And I'm like, man, if you could liberate that time and continue to focus in on like what can you do to scale like beyond San Antonio, beyond Austin, beyond Texas, that's where you're going to get the best return on your time. Because like I said earlier, when you solve more people's problems, which is dirty houses, and with that's beyond just San Antonio, you'll be compensated more for it. So the further out you scale, the more opportunity there is for you. So that's why I say I loved your mentality versus somebody else's that may just be thinking, I got to get this house cleaned today.
And that the thing about it is that there's levels to it, right? So there's levels to the problems. At the end of the day, business is all about solving problems. Like that's the only thing that matters whenever you're in business, right? Is solving problems, right? So when you solve small problems, you get paid based for that. When you solve bigger problems, or like you say, you solve more people's problems at a larger scale, you get compensated based off of that value as well, right? But a lot of people have a wrong perspective about business because most people, a lot of people say they want to, have another stream of income. They want to make more money. They want to start a business, but they don't want problems, right? But you got to understand, in the same way, you at a 9 to 5 job, or anyone that's working, anyone that has a 9 to 5 job, you were hired to solve someone's problems. Your position is literally there to solve problems that your boss didn't want to solve anymore, right? So they created a position specifically to get those problems solved. And what do? They compensate you based on the difficulty of the problems that you are actually solving, right? So how can you say that you want more money or you want more income, but you don't want to solve more problems, or you don't want to solve other problems, or you don't want to solve tougher problems? That's what business is. So when you get out that mindset of like business problems are like a nightmare, whatever the case may be, and you just understand you're just solving different problems or harder problems, that's when you can really, blow your business up. Personally, that's what I believe. So, when people get into this whole, it's kind of like with the real estate thing. People talking about like, oh, I don't want to deal with tenants or I don't want to deal with toilets at 2 a.m. It's like, that's the problems you're paid to solve as a real estate investor, partially, right? Because as a property manager or a landlord, that's what they do. So if I'm a real estate investor, I can outsource those problems to my property management company or to my landlord, whatever the case may be, so that I don't have to focus on solving those problems. But at the end of the day, your business is going to solve those problems because that customer is paying you, right? In the same way your boss is paying you to solve his problems or their problems or that company's problems, customers pay you to solve their problems. So for me, in my cleaning business, I'm just trying to solve bigger problems at a larger scale. And it's bigger than just house cleaning. It's now, how can I make things more efficient and decrease people's time, money, or effort spent in order to book a house cleaning service. So that's what it is
Man,
at the end of the day.
so a lot of people are not going to understand that mainly because they've never been a business owner before. So they only see it from one side of the fence. Like they only see one perspective. So how somebody will see it is that they are the employee, and you put out a hire of a help wanted sign or something, and they go get the job. So now in their own brain or in their own world, they are solving the problems of the company. Like because without them, they feel like without them, there's no business. So like for you, for instance, with your cleaning business, without your cleaners, there's no business technically. But what they don't see is that in order to scale this business beyond, like in order to like gain more cleaners or to scale to the a countrywide level, you need to be forward thinking and saying, how can I expand this to more people in more areas? How can I do marketing in San Antonio while simultaneously doing marketing in Austin, while simultaneously doing marketing in Montana or something like that? Like that means that you're able to start putting your outreach towards more places, towards more people, and solving more of those people's problems. So now you're, especially when you talk about providing like the ease of booking, like that's one thing that's going to separate you from a lot of people, is that you're saving them time when it comes to booking. They don't even have to call you on the phone. They can just book online, and that's one way that you're solving their problem. You're making it life easier for them, whether it's time, money, or effort, like you said, like you mentioned before. That to an employee may seem like it's very small, but that makes all the difference. That's why, like I said before, Amazon is a billion-dollar company because they save people time by being able to just, it's the ease of checkout. They save people money by, like, a lot of people don't have to pay the shipping because they have Amazon memberships, and they're saving people effort. They ain't got to go up and do anything. So when you save on those all three aspects, you're going to be compensated the absolute most for it. And like I said, the employee is just too busy seeing only that I've cleaned this house today, so I should be compensated pretty handsomely, right? You
Yeah.
cleaned one house, but you're well, as the business owner, you made a whole list of different what is it called? Different job descriptions. So like there's every role or everything that you do in your job has like a role, or like it can be categorized into like a role or responsibility. And the cleaner is nothing more than just a role. Like that's just a role within the grand scheme of, or the grand business itself. And so you can be replaced. The person that's visualizing how to scale from San Antonio to the country, that is much harder to replace. So that's why you would be compensated the most in comparison to somebody at the lowest level, like the cleaner.
Yeah, 100%. It's the value chain, man. It's the same way. The reason Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, is getting paid nine figures, in equity and stocks and all those kinds of things from Apple, is because that's crazy. It's because of yeah, I might have to fix that. Sorry. It's because of he's solving different problems than other people in Apple, even the engineers in Apple, right? They're solving lower level problems than what Tim Cook is doing. So it's all based off of value at the end of the day. How much value do you bring to the marketplace, right? How much value do you bring as a cook or a fry cook at McDonald's? You bring a lot less value to the marketplace than even a franchise operator at McDonald's, right? Because they're solving a lot more people's problems as a franchise operator. They're solving all the employees' problems and they're solving customers' problems. So you get compensated based off.
So yeah, for the most part, that's kind of like how I see it. So that's why I say I'm very glad that you think that way in general, because that's the way that of like if you want to scale your business to like a 6, 7, 8 figure level, you got to be thinking along those lines as opposed to somebody that's really just worried about the technical work of it all. But one thing I really want to get into like for this episode is really about like the power of like your environment, like the people that you're around, because I think for both of us, we were able to experience this past weekend going to Dallas. And we got to like I said earlier, we got to hang out with some of our previous podcast guests. And I know for a fact, just from our conversation, you really enjoyed the whole conversation that we were having with them and just how they thought and stuff like that. I really wanted like to get your take on that, like especially to share with the audience, because I know for a fact how strong or how powerful it is to be in the right environment. And I wanted you like to share like what your thoughts were on it too.
Yeah, definitely. I think you know it. One thing that happens is like if you don't ever really force yourself to get into a new environment, you don't get to, how should I say this? If you stay in the same environment, you're gonna get pretty much the same results as you've been getting and the results everyone else have been getting, right? Because typically what happens is, if you go to college or high school or even college to a lesser extent, like if you stay in that same city, you don't typically go beyond what is there in that city, right? Because that you've been there so long that you don't see anything else, right? You don't see any other people, you don't see any other opportunities, you don't see anything, right? But as opposed to obviously when you leave high school, you go to college, you should be growing, you should be evolving, developing personally, right? And in the same way, after you graduate college, now you're in the real world. Again, you grow, you evolve, you develop. But right, but let's say you don't leave the city after you graduate college, you stay in that same city. It that kind of just becomes your pinnacle. And it's not to say that just because you leave means you evolve, but it's with the intent with why you're leaving, right? Because if you're leaving with the intent of like, oh, I'm going to be able to meet more types of these people I'm trying to be like in another city, then there's going to be benefits to that, right? So if you're moving to a city where, let's just take Dallas, for example, we were there this weekend. There's a lot of the entrepreneurs that we interviewed in that city. Now, I have no personal ties to Dallas, in a way I do to the city I'm in now or into Houston, just because those are cities I have lived in and I grew up in to a lesser extent, San Antonio, but I pretty much grew up here too. I mean, since I was 18, I've been here. So I really lived my adult life up to now here. So I developed a lot even here. So, but now let's say if I left from here and I went to Dallas, now it's going to be a lot more evolution and growth in that kind of environment because now I'm forcing myself to get into the environment where it's going to be a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of high performers, right? So I have to perform now. I have to. It's like osmosis. They're rubbing off on me. The conversations, the way they move, right? We were over there this weekend, and it's just like one thing. If y'all know something about me, my goal is to move to Miami here in a couple of years, just to kind of get out of this environment, right? Because I want to go to live in that kind of, I want to, we grew up in the suburbs, so I've been in the suburbs, white picket fence, whatever, my whole life. So I'm trying to like live downtown in a high-rise apartment. That's something I've been wanting to do for the last couple of years. And so when I went to Miami a couple months ago, I said, cool, let me go do some apartment shopping, see the apartments. I already knew the one I wanted. So I just went, checked that one out. It was going to be about $2,800, $3,000 a month for that apartment. Mentally in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. That's not even like, I just know if I can, I just got to make 10, if I got to be at least making 10K a month to be able to afford that comfortably. Right. And so for me, that's not really a lot, like to think about spending 3,000 a month in rent. It wasn't really like a big shift in mindset for me, just because it's like I already prepared my mind to say I'm not gonna do that until I'm making 10K a month, right? But not so we went to Dallas, and we were going apartment shopping with Aunt Lisa, and she was looking at some apartments, and a lot of them were $5,000 a month apartments, $6,000, $7,000, right? And so once you kind of see that and you're kind of like in that environment, and you're actually going through them and walking through them and talking to the staff and talking to the people, it kind of just becomes something where it's like it just is, like it just exists, like that just is what you do, right? It becomes more normal, right? It's not even like oh my god, 5,000, oh my god, $7,000 a month. It's like, no, that just is what you do when you live in this environment, or when you do these kind of things. you just spend $7,000 a month on rent. I mean, on your apartment, because I know I make over $20,000 a month, so I can justify spending that, right? And so those kinds of things, it kind of just makes you shift your thinking into, it changes your standards really too, because it makes you think what actually is a lot of money, right? And because now you can put it into perspective of your own situation when you're actually there, and then the conversation shift too. So it's like the people and the things you're talking about are all based off of making $20,000 a month. So to live that kind of lifestyle, you got to make $20,000 a month. So, and I know that could, I don't want that to go over nobody's head, because it's hard to explain, but I think it's best explained as if when you change your environment, it forces you to also change your mindset, and forces you to evolve, right? Staying here around the same people, nobody's challenging the fact that, I mean, it's an anomalous situation. Obviously, I don't pay anything to live here, but still, if I was living in my nice apartment before I left here, I was spending $1,200 a month in my nice, quote unquote nice. It was nice. It was
Sure.
amazing. It was dope, but nice compared to $7,000, how those looked, yo, it's a different conversation, and you really
Man.
start to get different. Like $1,200 a month, boy, I'll wipe my booty hole with that.
So that's why I wanted to get into this topic. I knew I was going to really enjoy this one. Man. So first, I want to address anybody that's already thinking, man, these some hypocrites right here. That they was always talking about how to say like saving money, investing money, and now they're talking about like spending money on $7,000 on an apartment for a month.
You got the wrong idea if you think
Right.
that.
So now I want to explain that first. So first of all, we're not just saying if you make 8,000 a month, go spend 7,000 on rent. That's stupid. Let's not do that. We're showing you need to learn how to visualize your lifestyle that you want to have. And you need to first be exposed to a lifestyle that's possible. Most people will spend their entire lives in the same area. So like I want to take Detroit for instance, because I was just there before we went to Dallas. My family has spent their entire lives in Detroit. They never have moved anywhere. They rarely travel. They rarely see anything outside of Detroit walls, basically. And so now you have deemed that as the best, as the only thing that exists in life, just dang near. Like you don't even know what. So Dearborn Heights is like one of the more affluent areas in outer city Detroit. You would see Dearborn Heights as like the pinnacle of like the cream of the crop of life when it comes to like standard of living, and you won't even think that you can live in Dearborn Heights because you see the prices rising from $500 a month to $2,000 a month, and that's already like too much. So I'm gonna just stay right here in my 500, because now you're gonna look at 2,000 like, okay, well my current income says that I can't afford that, so I'm actually gonna say that I don't even want that in general. So don't even ask me to move out there because that's not in my budget. But what we learned from taking this trip over to Dallas is that you need to be able to like I said before, visualize the lifestyle that you want first. So you can want, like, it's okay to want something that's $7,000 a month as far as for living,
Yeah.
but you need to now upgrade your income. So what most people do is that they will decrease the lifestyle that they desire to fit where their income is. But in reality, what they need to be doing is increasing their income to fit the lifestyle that they desire. So you can want someplace that's 30,000 a month, 100,000 a month. Like people can think on those levels, and people actually live on those levels. But what you need to do, and consequently, is to raise your income up, and that is a different way of thinking that you're not exposed to in your current environment. If you are raised in Detroit, nobody's thinking like, or if you're raised in the area that I was raised in, nobody is thinking I'm gonna raise my income to get the lifestyle that I desire. My lifestyle is dictated by my current income in those areas. When we went to Dallas and we were around those entrepreneurs, they think along the lines of, I want this, so I need to raise my income up so that I can afford this. And if you look at it on a scale, like let's look at it in terms. You said earlier about it's justifiable that they can spend this much money on rent. So I think you said like you have to in order to qualify for a $7,000 per month apartment, you have to make 21,000 a month. And same thing if you were making 2,100 a month to qualify for a $700 apartment. It's the same math as far as like the 3 times the monthly income.
Zero.
Yeah, just add a zero to the end. But that extra zero is the extra thinking on a different level. Most people are not doing that. So that's why I was very glad that we were able to experience that, because that definitely stretched me personally. I'm like, man, you need that made me become a lot more calculated about like where I want my life to be at, like within the next couple of years. And one thing I also wanted to bring up with this, first of all, are you trying to do the camera stuff?
No, it's already on.
Okay, cool.
I already fixed it.
Yeah, so one thing that made me like really do for myself is start like being very calculated about like where I wanted to go within the next couple of years within the business. And I also think that it's important to point out that when you are, if you do decide to surround yourself with these right people or with different people, also keep in mind of where you currently are at that moment. So for me, I'm still working a 9 to 5. I'm still building my business up to where it'll be able to fund my lifestyle. I can't just uproot and say, you know what? I see what they're doing, and I'm following their lead right this moment. My income doesn't say that, but you can always visualize where you want to go. And once you get that clarity of vision, that clarity of focus, that's when you can start calculating your activity in order to match with your desires. So now I'm creating an entire blueprint of where I want to be by when, as far as within our rental car business. And that's why I mentioned that earlier in the podcast. We're gonna be talking about all of this in the masterclass itself, because these are things that we've learned through our year of experience. But everything that we're going to be talking about in that class is going to be just taught like within these 4 weeks. But this is like where you need to have your mindset at in order to achieve things that you desire. Don't just quit right out the gate. Like don't quit your job like right out the gate. You need to be able to see how much money do you need in order to live comfortably for the next couple months, while you continue to build your business and stuff like that.
I have a vision for my life in terms of like the way I want it to look, how, the type of income I want to make, when I want to make it, blah blah blah. I think we talked about all that in the whole episode, right? In the episode 68. It was the goal setting episode.
I know. I was about to say 53. I don't know what. I thought it was one of them.
53 was top 10.
I love how he knows all these episodes. Episode 28. that was just random.
I don't remember that one. All right, 28? No, I don't remember that one. Anyways, well, okay, so I lost my thought. Anyways, what I was saying was we talked about that whole concept of like, envisioning your lives, right? So it's really important to know what that plan to get there is going to look like, right? Because it's going to look different for everyone. And in terms of your timeline, it's different for everyone too, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're in Dallas, we're seeing the entrepreneurs, hanging out with them, kicking it with them. It's like, yo, but I always remember like, yo, all right, they're at a different level, they got a different kind of bag than me right now. So I ain't trying to spend with you right now. Like you got it right now. I'm still good in my garage apartment, living for free, building a business. Right? That's where I'm at right now. Because I know it's a part of the journey, it's a part of the timeline. Because even now, the fact that you gotta understand is like everything you do is always taking a step forward. Right? Because me living for free right now, it's not where I'm at in terms of like I'm making, my 50,000 a month, which is what I said in that episode in terms of my 5-year plan was to be making 50,000 a month by 2026. We're not there yet, but I'm at a point where it's like I live for free. I don't have any overhead, those kind of things. I'm in a very good place right now. Right. So that gives me a lot of it. You gotta understand there's a purpose with everything. The purpose of the step I'm in right now is not so I can live the most luxurious life possible. The purpose of the step I'm in right now is so that I can have, the extra money and also the ability to get early financial freedom, meaning fire my employer as soon as I can, not because I'm making a lot more money, but because my expenses are so low, right? So now that my expenses are so low, what does that mean? If I can fire my employer, now I can focus on the business. Now I can focus on scaling the business. And what is that going to get me? Scaling the business is going to get me to the point where I can now make that $50,000 a month. So you got to understand where you're always at and understand that every step or every step of the journey has a purpose, even though it might not look how everyone else's looks. Like some people right now, you're paying off debt. There's a purpose in that. You're trying to get those expenses down. Some people, you're just got introduced to the podcast. You're getting your financial literacy up. Some people, they making the $20,000 a month. That's where they at. You don't know where they were at before. You don't know how long it took them to get to that point. So to me, I don't. It's hard, but I don't look at people's lives and say, yeah, that's where I should be. It's hard to just look at it and not say you don't want it because it's inspirational, right? It motivates you, but at the same time, you gotta understand the step and the place you're at right now. There's a purpose in it. So a lot of people right now, they're listening to this. They got 9 to 5 jobs, right? A lot of people are in a position where it's like, man, they hate their job. They want to leave. They want to get out, and it's not time yet. It's just not time yet. There's going to be a right time to leave your job. You don't want to do it too late. Or sorry, you don't want to do it too early. What would be worse, early or late? I would honestly say, dang, I don't know. That's a toss-up. Anyways, that's beyond the point. But you don't want to do it. For the context of this, you don't want to do it too early, right? Because if you leave your job too early, you putting yourself in a tough position because you got to understand what your employer does. You got to understand what the purpose of that job is. You got to understand what the point of you being in that step of having a job is. It's 3 reasons always. There's always 3 reasons or 3 things you should be getting from your 9 to 5, right? Number 1, subsidizing your business, subsidizing your investments, right? That's always the number 1 thing. You need income to do that. If you leave your job, good luck going to get a rental property. Good luck going to get, any type of financing for real estate. Good luck.
House hacking.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck house hacking. Because remember, house hacking is a step of the process. You got to get your expenses low. You need a job to be able to get that property. Then you can leave after if that's a part of the plan.
Yeah.
But you just got to prove to that bank that you could pay for it. So that's that first thing, right? You need the money to be able to subsidize your business. Number 2, there's always going to be synergy from your job, right? There's always going to be things you can grab from your job, skills you can learn at your job that you can apply into your business, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to remember, when you work a job, you are part of a system, right? You are a position that, like I said earlier, you were created to solve problems. So if you're in that position, that means you are now in a place to where you can leverage the other things that happen in that job because you're part of a system that's a part of a business. You should be taking advantage of that, learning how the business is operating. Most people don't look at their 9 to 5 like that. But imagine if you looked at your 9 to 5 from the opposite lens of your employer and from more specifically the business sense of your employer. How do they actually do things? What are their systems in place? How do they market for clients if you're starting a similar kind of business? How do they, do whatever? You can take advantage of those things. I'm not saying steal anything, but you can take advantage of those things and apply them into your own business. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. It's not just a job. You look at it as a job, but you need to look at it as a business and a set of systems, right? And then the final thing that you could always do is take advantage of the networking opportunities that are there. There's always, now this could be a gray area for a lot of people, but just depending on the environment, the people you work around, there could be people there that could help you in your business at some point, right? So just being aware of that to some extent. I'm not saying you got to go tell everyone that, hey, you're starting a business. How can you help me? I'm not saying that's what you want to do because, that could have consequential effects on you. But at the end of the day, there are going to be people there that you can leverage to your benefit so that you can benefit from them and ultimately leave your job.
All those 3 main steps about like why your job is important and like why the importance of cherishing that particular step in your life, like that's pivotal, like because you can gain so many different things. Whatever just happened. Is it run out again? It never pressed record.
My mic wasn't plugged in.
So you got all this video, no audio.
Damn it, man. Sorry.
Or you should be able to sync with this audio right here, hopefully.
I don't want this audio. Damn.
All right, keep on going, man.
I gotta redo it.
Just start over. What's good, everybody? But No, that part, as far as understanding the benefits of the 9 to 5 income, or the 9 to 5 in general, that step is very pivotal because that allows you to stop dreading going there and understanding what value you can take out of the job itself. But what I liked the most that you talked about was understanding where you are. And I think it helps a lot when you have that clarity of vision of where you're trying to go. So now, when you expose yourself to 7,000 a month of a high-rise apartment, when you expose yourself to buying whatever luxury car you want to have, and expose yourself to traveling as frequently as you want to, now you get to see how much does that lifestyle cost me. And now you can backtrack all the way to where you are today. So let's say you are in a 9 to 5 and you're renting an apartment and you're driving like your car from high school or car from college or whatever like that.
A busted Mazda 3.
Yes, there you go. I don't know how you picked that.
I don't know.
Just a random choice, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, now you start all the way from where you want to be at, and then start backtracking. So in order to get, let's say my dream life is 50,000 a month, like you said. Now that means I need a business that's able to generate that. I need a business that's generating more than 50,000 a month, because I want my net that I'm living off of is 50,000 a month in order to afford that lifestyle, to pay for insurance, to pay for investing, to supply everything else that I need beyond just the car, the house, and travel. Like you need to itemize everything. In order to get that business to that level, I need to be able to build the business, and I need time away from my 9 to 5 to do that. And so how do I get there? Now I need to build up some type of nest egg or some type. So when I say nest egg, I'm talking about like financial runway. And so in Set for Life, the book written by Scott Trench, he talked about financial runway, which is what is my current living expenses. Let's say if I live off of $2,000 a month today, how long do I want to have to be able to to retire from my 9 to 5 and have like 6 to 12 months in order to build that business up? So I can either do it. It's need to be through cash flow from from the business that I'm building as a side hustle, or it can be just in cash reserves that you save up from the business itself. You can keep on backtracking too, because even before that, even before you got to that financial runway step, you could be looking at, I need to be able to save up for a house hack, because that house hack will allow me at least to eliminate my largest monthly expense. That way, I'm able to start saving a lot faster for that financial runway. If I backtrack from the house hacking, then I'm looking at how much do I need to save per month in my job today in order to afford a down payment on this house 6 months from now. So that's kind of the process that we went through. So starting back from when we were in 2018, or even like me right now, I was saving up for a down payment to buy a house, or down payment on a house that I would use as a house hack. That would allow me to be able to save my largest monthly expense, the housing expense, and then I'll be able to continue to put all of my money from my job towards investing into the business or building up that financial runway. So that way, when I retire, I'm going to have enough money to live off of for 6 to 12 months in order to build the business up. And so within those 6 to 12 months, I don't have to worry about getting a paycheck from my 9 to 5 because of the fact that I have all of my monthly expenses covered for the next 6 to 12 months. So I can survive for 6 to 12 months with no income coming in. So that allows me to hyper focus in on building the business itself. And so now, if I take all that same time, energy, and effort that I put into my 9 to 5 towards putting it into my business, you're bound to grow. Like if you spend 8 hours a day just working on your business, it's gonna grow. That's inevitable, just because you're putting calculated time, energy, and effort into it. And so then now you're able to start scaling to the point that you wanted to get to in order to fund your lifestyle, your current lifestyle, and then you can scale beyond that to afford your dream lifestyle. And it's just, once you have that dream lifestyle in mind, you know exactly what number you need to hit in order to obtain it.
Yeah. And see, I think that's a great point, because essentially what you're doing, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier too, with every step has a purpose, right? Because obviously when with buying the house, the goal is to decrease your expenses, and with having the 9 to 5, the goal is to build that financial runway so that it can afford you to get to a point in the next step of the process to where you can leave the 9 to 5. That's just another step. Then you can have to focus on the business. Then you can use that time to scale the business, which, by the way, it takes, personally, for a lot, like today, because most of the things you're doing, it depends on the kind of business, but a lot of businesses already have there's courses, there's things like that out there. So it's like you're
Information.
not out, yeah, the information's out there. You're not out here freestyling, going off of just vibes, trying to figure it out. So it don't even take you 8 hours a day, like the same 8 hours that you were spending on a 9 to 5. You don't have to spend 8 hours a day on your business to scale your business. Like now, if you're doing something that's unorthodox and something different and something that's you're trying to like I was talking about earlier in terms of add more value or something like that and bring more value, then it's a different story. But to build a business to get to a point where it can number one replace your job income, so that you never have to go back to the 9 to 5, even after your financial runway runs out, and even to do your dream lifestyle, it really doesn't. It's what I came to see is that it doesn't even take too much. Because now you gotta understand, it just goes back, man. You really don't realize how underpaid you are as an employee until you start to be a business owner, because you can see how much less you can work if you're doing it right and how much more you can get paid, right? Because as an employee, remember, you're just an investment. So you're just a part of that system. So they can't pay you, right? As an employee, they're not going to be able to pay you what the entrepreneur or the CEO gets paid, because it's an investment. So if they pay you 50,000, they're making 200,000 off of you. The
Right.
CEO, he's going to be making 200,000. So that's just the what you got to understand when you are getting into this journey. So the replacing your income, that level one of financial freedom, that's the number one goal, is to get to the point where you can replace your income with business or passive income. Um, or really just passive income. Even if it's business income, it should be passive. So that's always the number one goal. And then beyond that, it's level two, where it's like now, I want to be able to uh, have my dream life, right? And then there's level three, where it's like I can buy anything in the world. That's a whole nother level. So we talking, millionaire with a B. So I mean, that's the three tranches, I guess, of financial freedom. But the goal is always just to get to that first level. And in order to get to that first, I would probably say that first level is probably the hardest to get to.
Yep.
Like, because that's when you're operating off of just, I mean, you don't know what you don't know yet. So you're just kind of going along with it, right? And you're just learning. And it's like they say, like the first 100,000 is the hardest to make. And
Hmm.
once you make your first 100, and I'll tell you straight up, because I know just in my business alone, I don't even know if I should say this, but anyway, I guess I'll say this. I made the first 100,000 in my business in 9 months. The next 100,000 came in 3 months.
Hmm.
So from August to May, August of last year to May of this year was 100,000. May of this year to August of this year, which is in a few weeks, is 100,000 again.
And
So
the crazy thing about that is it's only gonna get faster.
it comes exponential.
It's going that comes from that focus. So I know we talked about that a lot, but that focus, that allow like this growth is exponential. It's not going to take 9 months every time to make another 100,000.
No, it's
Like
not
it's
like
going to start becoming 3 months. It's going to become 1 month. It's going to become 1 week, and that's
yeah,
because you hyper focus in on cleaning business only, and you keep on looking at how can I scale this beyond where it's currently at. Like you always are envisioning going beyond where you currently are, and that allows you to continue to scale. And now you're going to be able to go from level one financial freedoms to level two to level three.
yeah. And the thing is too, is like it can grow as far as you want it to go. It can go really, you can take it as far as you want to go. So you have the ultimate control. And this is why it's so dope, because it's like it almost is like a lever where you can control your income. It's like a faucet, right? I can have it come in or I can have it stop, right? Obviously
Especially with your
barring any,
business.
huh?
I said, especially with your business, like the way you
Yeah,
market for it, you just flip that switch.
yeah, yeah. So it's crazy, man. But I think that's really what I want people to get from this whole conversation. It's just understanding where you're at, understanding where you're going, and understanding how long it's going to take there and what you have to do to
Hmm.
how long it's going to take to get there and what you have to do to get there. Right? Don't be so focused on where other people are at. Don't be so focused on where you're not. Don't be so focused on the lack of progress that you've made. Just understand where you're at, There's a purpose. Like I said, even you listening to this podcast right now, even you hearing this, there's purpose in that because you're getting the information, you're getting the insight, you're getting the knowledge that you need in order to get to that next level. As long as you take action. So.
Yes, sir. And I really just want to continue to hit on that level, that level 1, 2, and 3 for financial freedom, because everything that we have been talking about, especially up until this point, I think on the podcast, you will always hear us talking about level 1 financial freedom. So that's being able to pay for your lifestyle or like your current day-to-day lifestyle where your business has replaced your 9 to 5 income. So with that being said, our current lifestyle is the house hacking lifestyle where we are eliminating our largest monthly expense in order to like start saving up in order to hit that financial freedom, that level 1 financial freedom sooner. So you can afford that lifestyle for, well, based on like your business income. But now what happens when you want to move on past just the house hacking? What happens when you want to get the high-rise apartment? What happens if you want to get the $1 million mansion? You can, I'm actually, I want to give y'all permission to desire those things, because a lot of people would think that, okay, that when now you're starting to get greedy. This is like in life, you are able to achieve any and everything that you want to achieve. You should be able to dream as big as you want to. Like if you want a $10 million mansion that has a $30,000 to $40,000 monthly mortgage attached to it, you can truly get that for yourself. That's the level 2 and level 3 financial freedom that Alex was talking about. Level 3 is where you can afford anything. You can, like, level 1 is just level 1. Like, understand that somebody that's buying somebody that's buying the $10 million mansions may be on level 3. So use them as inspiration. Like, see them and be like, oh, since they did it, that means that I can do it too. That means that it can be done. So now I know I can get to level 3. What does it take to get there now? Now I need to start building up my business to where it can afford to pay for that lifestyle. And now that's where you start getting your calculated activity to go from 100,000 in 9 months to 100,000 in 3 months to 100,000 in 1 month, and so on and so forth. Because it just takes a little bit at a time, and that's why Alex said, just don't stop with your activity. Like, you may feel like you're moving at snail's pace during that first 9 months, but what's going to happen is that it's going to get easier over time. It's because the more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more systems you put into place. The more systems you put into place, the faster it grows. And so it's a constant repetition of activity that allows you to have exponential growth, not being all over the place and trying to get into 5 different businesses when one doesn't work within the first month.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, at the end of the day, we always said, even when we started this podcast, we were bringing y'all on the journey with us.
Sure.
So when y'all hear us talking a lot about financial freedom right now, it was always on that level 1, because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Right. It was just in terms of replacing the job income. That's the holy grail right now. Replace the job income. Right. Now that we got to a point where we'll have essentially done that this year, right? It'll now evolve to the next level 2, right? Because now with level 2, we haven't gotten there yet. So it's just more so, what does your dream lifestyle kind of look like now, right? How much do I need to make now to live my dream lifestyle? That's level 2 financial freedom. And that is something we haven't got to. But like I said, y'all, in 5 years, where we'll be at, I'm telling you, y'all will have looked at y'all have been around literally for the entire journey.
That's
crazy. Except like year 1, which was like when we literally were like raw dogs. Like,
year 1 was nothing but education anyway, though. So like that's where our journey started, was just education.
Like, we couldn't have brought y'all in there year 1, because it was like
just
like we wouldn't know what we were saying.
We would have just been we'd have bought y'all. Our journey back then was us listening to podcasts. So like how y'all listen to this podcast right now, we'd have just put a camera in front of us with us on a podcast listening or something.
Yeah,
so
and there was nothing there. So that's why I was like, I mean, we brought y'all on pretty much as early as we can. After it was about 18 months into the journey in terms of like inception to 18 months later, that's when we brought y'all in. And so it's like y'all have literally been there from the beginning of it till indefinitely. I mean, as long as we run this podcast. So Um, that's really the craziest thing because it's like you seeing the journey, and it's like you gonna be able to see when we on episode 209 and 93, right? As opposed to 93, you'll be able to see the evolution and the growth over the next 200 weeks.
Yeah. Nah, I get excited thinking about it, and I want y'all to understand that we want to be transparent because we are living testimonies. Like if you go from episode 1 to 93, you see the evolution, and I want you to understand that you can start from where you are and still get there. Most people are not going to. Most people will see transparency as you bragging, but it's not really that. It's really liberating you as far as a listener to believe that you can do it. Because if Alex is literally saying 100,000 in 3 months, some people don't make 100,000 for 2 years in their 9 to 5 job. So understand that it can be done, but what you need to do is follow the things that we've been that we've been preaching, and bringing guests on a podcast, and what they've been talking about, all the stuff that we've been putting out on this podcast. That's what it's been for, in order to achieve these type of wealth achievements, wealth milestones, or cash flow milestones and stuff like that. Understand that everything that we're saying, everything that we've been showing you is possible for you to do. And so by us being transparent, you can see how the journey has gone from episode 1 to episode 93. And it's just only going to continue on from there. The journey is not stopped here. It does not stop at level 1 financial freedom. It continues on way past that.
No, man, the goal is level 3. The goal is level 3. And God willing, we'll still be running this podcast, sure, in 200 weeks, whenever we are at level 3. Because remember, it's exponential. 200 weeks is 4 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Man, you give me 4 years, all right, bet. I'm not even gonna be 30. We're gonna see. So we not even gonna be 30. So you're gonna see the evolution and the growth. So at that point, it's kind of like there's no excuse. I know people will still give excuses. Yeah, you had an engineering job. Oh yeah, you grew up in Pearland. Yeah, you had both parents in the house. Wait, you nah, I just can't do it. So,
Lord, no, you just opened up a can of worms with me with that. That is why we bring on other guests. We've had guests that have experienced everything that we haven't experienced, that you may have experienced, that you may have not experienced your own self as the listeners. People have not had either one of their parents raised by their grandparents. We had episodes titled "Getting It Out the Mud to Millions," all that. So there's different people that started from different levels than where we started at. That does not mean that they couldn't do it. That just means that you are trying to look for an excuse on why you can't do it, and why you believe you can't do it, really.
The excuses be crazy, man. Wow. Some of them ones I be seeing, it's like, yo, that's crazy. Imagine really having that mindset and really thinking like that on a daily basis. You are just destined for nothing in life because you don't want to have nothing, because you don't believe you can have nothing. So, but yeah, man, that was the whole purpose of this episode. It was to really help y'all understand where y'all are, where you want to be, and what's going to take to get there. And also just, understand it's a journey. I'm not going to sit here and say you have time, because I don't like to sit here and believe that you have time. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like I said, it's a sprint. Every single day is a sprint. So that's how you should treat it. And that's where the exponential growth comes from, especially early on. You got to be sprinting every day. So
one more thing I wanted to mention on this, because you just talk about the time piece, and this has been like big on my mentality like lately. When you are setting your goals, I want you to be as ambitious as possible with how fast you think you can achieve them, because in reality, you probably can achieve it as fast as you say you think you can, except now you just have to put the activity in order to get it done. So let's be practical for a second. Alex, in the very beginning of the financial freedom journey, we were like 22 years old, and Alex had said he wanted to be financially free by age 28.
21.
You said that age 21. You said you wanted to be financially free by age 28. At that time, I was like, man, 7 years, that sounds super fast. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna send it a little bit further and say the age 32. Now, if I could tell myself, if I could talk to myself back then, I would say set it for age 25. Because you can truly accomplish that. The only difference is that your mentality of what you believe that you can achieve. If you believe you can achieve it, now you're going to start seeking the resources in order to get it done faster. because I always think about the example of taking having a test that's coming up. If actually no, like an assignment that's due in class. If there's a big assignment that's due in class and you thought it was due next week, but you realize that it's due in 2 days, you're gonna buckle down and do everything you can to finish that assignment within those next 2 days. You could always have finished it in 2 days, but but the thing is, your activity is gonna be a lot slower in order to get it done if you think you have more time. So put it back to our example. I gave myself age 32. So now I'm thinking, okay, I got time. In 10 years, I hit it. Versus if I said age 25, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I gotta get to work today so I can make sure I reach my goal by age 25. It's just gonna be a switch in mentality because you gave yourself a shorter timeline. So be as ambitious as you can with setting that goal of or your target date for when you think you can achieve your goal.
Yeah, man, we call that Parkinson's law, right? Because they say work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you know, the whole thing with that, just a comment on that. At that time, you know, when we were that age, 21, a few years ago, we made that goal, and I know I said 28 based off of the information I had. Mm-hmm. So it was just based on the fact that it's like, oh shoot, one property a year, I can retire. One property a year for the next 7 years, I'll probably get a few more, maybe some creative methods. I can retire, right? But that at the bare minimum, you know, 50 units, $200 a month, that was to be $10,000 a month by age 28, right? That was the information I had. So it's like now, with the information I have now, it's like, oh shoot, I can do it at 25 actually. So because now I know about, you know, all the stuff in terms of like house hacking, and on top of that, increasing the income through business, and then putting that through real estate afterwards, right? So it's, you know, you just act based on the information you have. At the end of the day, you're gonna get there. As long as you're acting, you're gonna get there. So just understand that, man. But that's all really, you know, that we got for y'all this week. That's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday. Will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate if you rate us 5 stars and left us a review. Yo, go leave some reviews, man. Y'all have been I've been seeing a review. I was like, yo,
ain't got a review in years.
Like, dang, bro. Why we not at 200? That's disrespectful. But anyways, we'd appreciate if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at the Monopolizers or IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content under there to keep you engaged. So be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.